Kirsty Knight, so great to see you. Welcome to the Post-Pandemic Pivot Summit. It's such an honor to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I am delighted to be here.
Well, let me make a brief introduction about you. So if anybody in the audience is not familiar with you, they'll get a little bit of context. You are an LCS certified life and business coach, and you're on a mission to help other ambitious and hardworking women that feel stuck in their business um, to figure out what is holding them back and objectively figure out how they can move forward and change to in order to accomplish and create a business and the life they will really love. But you're also the author of the book First Time Entrepreneur. And we are so excited to have you here because, as you know, most of the people that are listening to you today are actually first time entrepreneurs. So you are a godsend to us. In your book, you basically offer us a roadmap to avoid so many pitfalls. So welcome to the summit again, and excited to have you. And I wonder we can start by you telling us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you again. So I'm a coach now, and I basically coach overwhelmed first-time entrepreneurs to get sort of strategic. I help them with their business strategy, their time management, and their mindset to basically help them get out of their own way. And I fell into that. I found that basically because I had set up my own business years ago, a camping business, a campsite business, which is a little bit out there. Probably not everyone is going to relate to all the struggles that I had in that business, but I learned so many things because I did so many things wrong in that business, and it was perfect in a way because it set me up for this sort of new chapter that I'm in, and it really helped me find the passion inside for the thing that I really love to do. So I'm so grateful that I started that first.
Well, interesting that you had a business, camping business, because now we are talking to each other at a time that we're still navigating through a worldwide pandemic, and so many people now have leaped into camping as a way
Yeah.
to, to do that. So it comes full circle. But in your book, you say something that I thought was incredibly interesting. You said that your mindset preventing you from seeing yourself as a real entrepreneur. So tell us more about that. What does that mean?
So I just wasn't viewing any of my successes as real progress, either as a freelancer or when I'd actually even started my first business. I really just wasn't giving myself credit for having created them. And I think it's really common that we do that. We sort of feel like, well, it was a bit of luck and I was in the right place at the right time, and all of those things, and I had opportunities available to me. But the truth was, I mean, despite having those opportunities, I seized them. I could have let them go. I did put in an awful lot of hard work. And I just wasn't giving myself credit for that. And I think that um, created this story about myself that I wasn't a very good business owner and I wasn't a great entrepreneur. And our brains are so fascinating because when we start to tell ourselves things about ourselves like that we believe to be true, we end up creating that reality. So when I was basically not thinking I was an entrepreneur, not thinking I was a good business owner, I basically created a business that had lots of problems within it. Whereas as soon as I started to become aware of the stories I was telling myself, and started instead looking at, wait a minute, what characteristics about me are actually really entrepreneurial, and what have I done? Like, I have created something from nothing. I started to shift out of that thinking and into a more, this is my business. Like, I did create this. And it helped me with a little bit of confidence and a bit more self-belief to believe that I can do this. And from there, I started to make changes like an entrepreneur really would, like a CEO of a business would. And prior to that, I'd really struggled. I'd sort of been in the employee mindset, if you like.
So it's interesting to hear you say that, because one, most of us kind of like left, in many cases, we have left an employee and a job to
Yeah.
become an entrepreneur because we felt that we really wanted to go after our dreams. But yet, exactly as you described, we have a challenge viewing ourselves as the one leader or the one CEO that could leap into it and work ourselves, we work ourselves to the bone trying to build a business. But it's so interesting. We don't give ourselves that recognition that we are,
No.
what we are doing. It's building a business. I wonder how much of that is driven, of course, by our mindset, but we often get a lot of messages, of people that seem to be overnight successes. Obviously, we can't see behind that, but
Yeah.
it's easy to see somebody that appears to be an overnight success, and then you compare yourself to them, and you're like, "What is wrong with me? Like, certainly, I was not cut off for this. I must give
For
up."
sure. Yeah, for sure. That is, I think it's one of the, it's like one of the bad things about social media and being so connected almost, because we can see we see the highlight reel, don't we
Mhm.
see everyone's and it's a marketing tactic as well. Everyone is saying this is possible, and it is possible. Like, it's not that it's not possible for every one of us. I really believe that there's no such thing as an unresourceful person, only an unresourceful state. So I believe that we are all capable of creating amazing success in our life and business, whatever that looks like. But it really isn't an overnight happening in any situation. I mean, a lot of the entrepreneurs, even if it has been really speedy, they've
Mhm.
had, they've had things, they've had knowledge and experience from before. They've learned a lot. They've brought those experiences into the business that they have now. And I mean, even say my coaching business, I've been able to learn from the failures that I had in my campsite business, and use those lessons to propel me faster in this business than I did in that business. But if you look at the overarching journey, it's never overnight. So I think we do have to be mindful of that and not let ourselves fall into the comparisonitis trap, because it's not healthy. It's not good for us.
Well, I mean, I think that also that leads us to the importance of seeking assistance, right? It's not accident that people who work with a coach tend to excel. It's like any sport.
Yeah.
Uh, if you are a new entrepreneur and you're isolated, the chances of succeeding just by you creating your own reality, it becomes a little more difficult. So it's super awesome to speak with somebody who works with others and could help them, as we say in the introduction, to objectively. I think that's the other challenge. What is really happening here, and what's my imagination and what is real?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
but you say something really interesting once you were starting to speak to us about your mindset, um, and it's about mastering your mindset. So how, like, tell us a little bit about like how can we even get into the pathway to master our mindset?
Okay. So the first thing to do is really become aware of what it is that you're thinking, like what is going around your head, because we take our beliefs and our thoughts from everyone around us, which is why it's important to have a supportive network for sure. People who will see the possibilities and are solution focused rather than problem focused and
Mhm.
probability focused. But it's so important to just to have that awareness as to where our thoughts are headed and what they're creating for us, because our thinking ultimately creates how we feel, and how we feel drives everything that we do and we don't do. When we're motivated, we take action. When we feel sad, we don't. And our actions and our inactions are what creates the results in our business. And so if we're not aware of the thinking that we're thinking in any moment, which is just, sentences on our brain about what we're doing, we're not aware of the impact that we're having on our business as a whole and our trajectory and where we're headed. And so just getting aware, and that's where, I mean, even just journaling is so useful, sort of a daily practice of journaling and asking yourself, just to do a thought download all the things that you're thinking right now and take them one step at a time, like one sentence at a time, and really scrutinize them and question them. Is this true? Is this a helpful thought? And look objectively at whether or not it's going to serve you and whether or not it's going to serve your business to think that way. Because I love the quote, he who thinks he can and he who thinks he can't are both right, by Henry Ford. And it's so true. Whatever we believe, we then create our reality from. So the first step is always getting aware, and then of course hiring a coach to pull out some of those negative thoughts is super helpful, because sometimes we can't see the wood for the trees, if you like. We just can't see what's in there, and we need someone else to unravel what is going on.
It kind of like reminds me a little bit. In your book, you also speak about the importance of making sure that you're fueling yourself, that you are invested in yourself. So here you are, like almost, it must feel like a different life now that you are, in the other side, looking at us, growing up as an entrepreneurs. But I wonder, when you were in that situation as an entrepreneur yourself, how did you find your way out? What were some of the investments that you made in yourself to kind of like help you find your way?
That's a great question. So, I mean, the first thing I started to do was just to consume positive stuff. First off, it was just like podcasts, anything I could get my hands on, even just low cost books, things like that, on mindset and business strategy, because I feel like you need to invest. Even if you only have a little bit to invest to begin with, you have to invest in knowledge. You have to invest in understanding your human behavior and why you're doing what you're doing. And then the next investment I made was in coaching. It was a huge jump for me. I'd never hired a coach before. I didn't even know what coaching was, really. It wasn't that common where I live, where I'm from. Nobody else had a coach. But I had heard on a podcast, the power of your mindset and all of these things. And I thought, you know what, I recognized at that point that I was holding myself back. I was getting in my own way, and I needed to learn how to step out of my comfort zone and take a risk. And that was what was keeping me stuck in my business. And the moment I invested, it was a large sum of money at the time. It like lit something inside of me, because it's almost like a self-belief exercise. When you invest in yourself, you really have to commit to making it work. And when we are playing small and we're like dipping our toe in, there's not that high a stake, and so we maybe not fully in. And so investing in a coach was for me like such a transformational thing. And then of course I had all the mindset beauty of having a coach pull it all out of me, see what I was thinking, change how I was behaving. That was like my first investment. But then alongside all of that, I was investing in programs and memberships on marketing and strategy and sales, because business is so diverse. You really have to be good at lots of different things, and that's why I love entrepreneurship, because it is so varied. You'll never get bored. You'll never have you'll never reach the top, I don't think, of the learning curve. You've always got something to improve upon, and I love that. And so for me it was all the things, but a coach, books, podcasts, and a coach were the first things that I really committed to.
So it sounds like, yes, I mean, one thing that is interesting about entrepreneurs is like our constant hunger, right? We're always thinking about what's the next thing and what can we do differently and learn different. But it seems like if we are smart and we gear our energy to feed our brains and our souls to really focus on how can we develop a presence and the presence of mind to actually serve others, which is, I guess, what we beginning to be entrepreneurs to begin with. It's what really will propel us to success, rather than just focusing in like, where am I going to get my next sale?
Absolutely. Yeah. Invest in yourself, invest in your mind, and look after yourself. Yeah. Because if you're not investing in your mental resilience and your physical health, then you can't serve anyone else. And that, you know, I sort of almost burnt out because I was trying to do everything myself. And I needed to take that next step in order to be able to look after myself better.
So that's an interesting space because so there's this space, right, when an entrepreneur is trying to do everything themselves, and or maybe they start just in the beginning stages of trying to consume information that could help them to grow. But then there's a very dangerous space where you could be so focused in trying to build your business that you create another job for yourself instead, an actual pathway to freedom. So I, how do you avoid that? To just create another job?
You have to have, and this is what I lacked at the beginning of my campsite business, you have to have a vision. You have to have a vision far enough out. It doesn't matter if that business fits perfectly into it, and it won't at the start, like it should just get going because it won't look the same. It doesn't have to be perfect when you start, but you have to have a vision as to how you would want your lifestyle to be, and make sure that that business that you're starting, you know that there's a rough plan as to how to get to that point. Because when you've got that long-term vision, you can then start taking strategic actions and decisions towards that. So for me, you know, as soon as I finally got that vision and decided, oh, I don't want to be spending every waking minute on the campsite here, I want to be doing this other thing instead, I then was able to see, okay, well, I need to hire a team in order to keep the campsite running. What do I need to do in order to do that? And then you can start mapping out the steps. Without knowing that, I just, you know, I was just in there, I was just winging it, you know, showing up every day, juggling all the things, and I wasn't making smart decisions that would lead me in that direction. And that's exactly why I ended up basically with another job, rather than, you know, a summer job, rather than an actual proper business. And it was only when I started to really step back and think, how do I want this business to run, that I was able to pull myself back a bit and start working on the business and on the strategy and on the marketing and hiring a team so that it could run better without me.
Well, what's interesting about that, we have heard something similar from other speakers in here, that specifically about the minute when you all collectively decided that you were going to really invest in yourselves and step back and look at the strategy. That's when many people mentioned that then that was the opportunity to think about what your next growing path would be. So they say that the most successful entrepreneurs are those who continue to evolve. And here you are, you're a perfect example. You started with a camping business that now has led you to be a business coach. And helping others to grow in their own pathway. So, I mean, that is what we are all seeking, right? That's we all want to find that yellow road, per se, brick road to get us to the magical kingdom of finding our way and finding our voice and our next steps. So, Kirsty, tell us a little bit about like your practice now. Like, what do you do? How can we get in touch with you? How can we stay connected with you?
Okay, so my focus at the minute, I basically have one key program. It's my signature program. It's called Bold. And it's basically like what I said, it sort of combines goal setting and strategy with time management and productivity with mindset work to overcome all the obstacles. And we focus on sort of some key pillars, which is self-belief, self-confidence, and courage, because those are the things that I found once I had started to up level in those areas. I was able to take bolder actions, care less about what other people thought, take more risk, not fear failure, and see it in a completely new light, like a learning experience, which is all it is. And so that is my program. Basically, I run it as a one-to-one, and I'm also in the process of launching a group. So yeah, for anyone who thinks that they could use that extra accountability, and strategy and all the things, then you can find me on my website. It's www.kirstyknightcoaching.com, and you can actually get access to my free guide, which is 3 tips for overcoming overwhelm, which might be handy if you're feeling overwhelmed right now. And you can also follow me on Instagram. My handle is @KirstyKnightCoaching. So I'd love to connect if you're on that platform.
So we, below this video, we will list both your website and your handle at an Instagram. And there's already a link for your book, so people can get access, can secure your book and start in their pathway to success, following your guidance. We are so grateful for your time and all the incredible golden nuggets that you have shared with us today. So I'm sure many of us will want to hear from you and continue staying in touch with you and learn more about your coaching. But thank you for joining us in the summit today. It has been an honor to have you with us.
Oh, I would love that. And thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be a part of this. And I wish everyone the best of luck with their businesses, because it's one of the most scary but exciting and amazing adventures I think that you can step into, is the world of entrepreneurship. So, and as you scale, as you grow, you evolve, like you said, through different levels of yourself. And there's nothing more fulfilling than really knowing that you're all in, for the growth, to see what you're truly capable of. So best of luck.
The recipe for a well-lived life to continue in that pathway of evolution. Thank you again. So great to have you.
Thank you.